Welcome to Flute Q&A number 51, which is where you're going to learn how an advanced flute player masters their scales. So this question comes from Arzu, and Arzu asks, I know all my major scales, which I'm rather proud of. Good on you. What should my next step be? Because I know I'm far from being a really advanced flute player, but I would like to get there. That's awesome, Arzu. So I'll show you today the 6 steps that advanced flute players can use to master their scales. All right, firstly, my name is Jane. I'm a flute teacher and I teach flute players specifically how to get faster progress by learning proper technique. So I teach flute players how to make tiny little tweaks to their flute playing, the way they play the flute, so their flute technique, which sees them get a lot better a lot more quickly than what they've ever experienced before. And it also feels a lot easier to play. So it's quite a shock, like a good shock to particularly the students in the Flute Academy. They have a bit of a shock when they join and through the academy as well. They're just like, oh my God, why has no one told me this before? So it's pretty awesome. Now, if you're an aspiring advanced flute player, I want you to write in the comments below, if you're watching this on YouTube, write below what scale you'd really love to be able to play. Maybe it's scale in thirds, maybe it's just a straight major scale, maybe a particular minor scale. Let me know which one you'd really love to be able to play, because everyone tends to have different favorites and I'm curious to see what it is. Okay, so the 6 steps. At this stage in your playing, if you're an advanced player, or I should say an advanced player at this stage in their playing, knows that they play scales without music. So at this stage, they will never be reading their scales. The way I teach, and the way that is honestly the right way to teach, is to teach students from their very first scale as a beginner from memory. So not using music. Of course, refer to music if you need to know how the scale goes, but you never read your scales and think that you're practicing scales. It's all done without music. If you just heard me say that and your mind went, oh my gosh, there's no way I could do that without music, go back a step. This advanced video, is a series of 4 videos. So before this, you'll see there's a video on how to master your scales as an intermediate flute player, and before that, how to master your scales or your first scale as a beginner flute player. So if this is too hard for you, go back to those ones. And then also after this one, there's going to be a video on how expert flute players master their scales. So there is a step after advanced. Okay, here we go, the 6 steps. So one thing you could do, you're probably already playing your scales 2 octaves. And if you're not, jump back to intermediate so that you can learn that. If you are playing your scales 2 octaves, let's say E major. This has 4 sharps. At this stage of your flute playing career life, you will also be doing them slurred, and you'll probably be also doing it in one breath if you're an advanced player. Now, the first thing that advanced players do to improve their scales is to take them full range. So instead of playing E major from low E up to E, 2 octaves above, we take it up to the highest note on the flute that you can play. So if that's a B, great, we'll go up to a B. If you can actually play up to C sharp, which is kind of technically out of the range of the flute, we'll take it up to C sharp. This scale has a D sharp in it, and we're not going to go up to D sharp. So C sharp will be the highest. Then once you get up there, you go all the way down the scale, down to the lowest note on the flute. On my flute, it's a C sharp, because I have a C foot, not a B foot. If you have a B foot in this scale, take it down to B, and it sounds like this. So you saw we went right up to the top note of the flute. I went up to C sharp in this case, all the way down to low C sharp, and then you come back to where you started, which was low E. So E major was kind of a bit of a hard one to demonstrate on, because it actually goes sort of out of the range of the flute to C sharp. So I'll do another example for you. Let's do B flat major. So this has 2 flats. So normally 2 octave B flat major starts and ends on B flat. Well, actually it always does. I should say the highest note and the lowest note is B flat, but not in the case if you take it full range. So we're going to take B flat major. We're going to go up to the highest note that you can play on the flute. Maybe it's a high C. I'll go up to high D because I could do up there. Then we'll go all the way down to the lowest note on the flute, which is going to be C, and then back up to B flat, to where we started. So they're full range scales. Now the second way that an advanced flute player gets better at their scales is to do not just a scale, but for example, a scale in thirds. So if we can take any scale, let's take F major. We're going to change it into a scale in thirds. Firstly, it sounds like this. So that's F major in thirds. You start it by skipping a note. So you go F, A. So you skip the G. And then you go down a note. So G, B flat. And you skip one there. So it's like leapfrog, then next note. Leapfrog, then leapfrog. This is pretty cool. So that's in thirds. Now another thing that advanced players always practice, arpeggios. With inversions, sometimes called broken chords. If you don't know what an arpeggio is, it's the first note, the third note, the fifth note, and the eighth note, or the top note of the scale. For example, let's do F major again. F, A, C, F. 2 octaves. I just did it twice because I didn't like my high F on the first one. Now, broken chord version, or you could say the arpeggio with inversions, sounds like this. So that was F major with inversions, or F major broken chord. Now, the fourth thing that advanced flute players do to get their scales better, they do it slowed and faster. So let's take G major. Instead of going, I have to remember to breathe before I play because I'm talking, I forget to breathe in. Chances are, as an advanced player, you're already doing your scales slurred. So just push them faster and think of them in one big sweeping phrase. So rather than da 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 dum and thinking in groups of 4, which is fine, as a sort of intermediate player, as an advanced player, you want to think of them as bottom, top, and then bottom. So that was yucky. So you can hear that it's more of a sweep rather than groups of notes. So that's how to think of your slurred and faster scales. Now the fifth step for advanced flute players getting better at their scales is to learn their chromatics. Chromatics are so fundamental, and really there's only one chromatic scale. It just starts on a different note. So for example, if we started on E, with a nice lump in it, that was E chromatic 2 octaves. So you can start on any note and you'll have the same notes in it. However, what I recommend is just practice one chromatic scale and practice C chromatic 3 octaves. You can even take it beyond C up to C sharp and D if you can, and down to low B if you have a B foot on your flute. When I teach my students, this is like the ultimate scale. If you can play C chromatic 3 octaves slurred fast in one breath, it's like you've made it as a flute player. That's what I think of. You know, that's kind of what I tell them, the kids anyway. So let me play it for you. See if I've made it as a flute player. I think I can do it in one breath. I can't remember. Yes, I can do it in one breath. There was a lump in there, but just ignore that. So that's C chromatic 3 octaves. Now, the sixth way and the final way that advanced flute players can improve their scales is to learn all the minors as well. So harmonic minors, melodic minors, even different types of minors if you want to go that far. So for example, just so that you can hear the difference, I won't teach you how to play these scales because if you're an advanced player, chances are you're going to know the construction of this scale anyway. Just as a reference, this is what A major sounds like. Oh my gosh. What was that? Something's not right with my flute. Hang on, I've got to check it out. I found out what it is. I have a spit bubble on the A key. That's why the A sounded like half a B flat. Wow. It's raining outside, humid day, more likely to cause spit bubbles. Okay, I think that's clear. So A major as the reference point. Whoa, that was a spit bubble again. Did you hear that note at the end? It's funny how as you get more experienced as a flute player, you know what is your flute and you know what's you. Like that was clear as, I was going to say clear as mud, that's not right. Clear as crystal that was my flute spit bubble. So I'm glad it was dribble, not something falling apart. A harmonic minor, just so that you can hear a difference in the sound, is this. An A melodic minor. So it's a different quality of sound. So that's your sixth step, is just learn every harmonic minor, every melodic minor, and even other minors if you like. So if you watched the intermediate video, you probably will recall that I said in the Flute Academy, my flute students come to me and they're often overwhelmed. They're like, I have so many scales to learn. I have no idea how many to do. I know I should be practicing a million things, but I just don't know. I can't do it all, or I don't know what to do. It's overwhelming, in other words. So one of the specific things that I teach them in the Flute Academy is the order in which to learn their scales. Like a very specific order. I call it the lifetime of scales sheet. There are so many scales. You could do this for your lifetime. The students find it extremely helpful to know which order to learn their scales in. I'll put a link below to the Flute Academy in case you would like to feel less overwhelmed as well. By the way, the Flute Academy is not just about learning scales. I think I made it sound like it is. The 45-day flute transformation is a big part of the Flute Academy. It's a very specific course. One little exercise, one little tweak to your technique every day for 45 days. You can go at your own pace. Very specific tweak. And at the end, your flute playing is transformed. So that's a significant part of the Flute Academy, which you can check out if you would like. Now, come and join me to improve your tone instantly. Speaking of tweaks, I've got 3 tweaks for you that are instantly going to change and improve your flute tone. You'll get a clearer, stronger flute sound. Go to www.flute.school. You can register for the 3-day mini course for free, and I'll teach you those 3 tweaks that fix your embouchure, improve your sound like that. It's super, super fast. Okay, so that's it. Advanced Flutist. Have fun. Bye.